All right, chat. Today we're going to talk about an interview that Mauricio Pochettino, the U.S. men's national team manager, gave to Andres Cantor, an institution in Hispanic television in the United States. He's been so for a long time. Tremendous individual as well. Pleasure knowing him. You can check it out on Andres Cantor's YouTube channel. And the interview is about 30 minutes. Today I'm going to concentrate on one part. There are a bunch of different parts that I think deserve being mentioned in what is a very good interview, but I want to concentrate on a few things. Obviously, what I'm about to read to you, which has to do, I think, and many feel, Bruce Arena and Mauricio Pochettino. But the second is why I think many um, Anglo journalists or American journalists, English first native speaking journalists, will tend to ask Mauricio Pochettino questions in Spanish. Um, he's much more blunt. And I say this without having to do anything with his English because he speaks very well. He's got great English, but he's political in his English. He's blunt in his Spanish, to the point. Sin pelos en la lengua, as they say. That means he's no filter. Says what he feels at the moment. So I think it's worth noting that when he does an interview in Spanish, and yes, a lot of it has to do with comfort, but it's not just the comfort. He's got a defensive wall. Maybe it's because the years of training in England, and they'll twist his words, if you will, in the English media. So he's very much more political. In Spanish, he's to the point. It's very much to the point. To the point, and it's raw, unfiltered, and that's why I think sometimes you get these commentators, journalists, people in the media who will learn a question or two in Spanish because they know the answer has more bite. That's something I've been noticing for quite a while. When I watch the U.S. men's national team pressers, the match day -1 games, that means before the game, the day before, they have a presser, and the post game pressers. He's very much so uh, a soundbite in Spanish. In English, is PC. It has nothing to do with the language or his understanding of the language. It's he's just trained that way. Maybe it's years of English football that have, in a way, um, made him put a wall up in English. So he's much more PC in what he says. It has nothing to do with the language as a barrier. It's more of a self defense mechanism, if you will. He said this in this interview. There are coaches here in the United States who have criticized me, right? Also out of the blue. I would have never criticized a coach. I don't criticize because I know how difficult it is to be a coach. And then if you say to me, "Well, I come from a sport that isn't football. I come from, I don't know, any other sport, right? That exists in Europe or South America, and I started coaching football at the age of 30, and here, well, I can understand you criticizing me. But to criticize me for not knowing the culture of the United States because we lost 2 matches or lost in the last minute against Panama and Canada because of the whole situation we're in the midst of a transformation, I don't know. It just seems like they're taking advantage and not understanding what the sport is about." And then he goes on to say, what I'm saying is that being insulted or mistreated for no reason is not right. And hopefully we can show these players have the ability to change, adapt, and always copy those who win because you have to copy those who win, right? Because no, 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 I don't copy those who don't win. No, 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 you have to do this if you want to win like other places. And he goes on to mention Spain, Argentina, Italy. Well, I don't know if I would have mentioned Italy, but um, a while back, Bruce Arena gave an interview. I believe it's Unfiltered, the podcast with Landon and Tim. He was on there, and no secret, Bruce Arena has always thought an American coach should coach the U.S. men's national team, something that I don't feel is anywhere near the case. Best coach should coach the U.S. men's national team. Best coach available to them should coach the team. That's it, regardless of where they're from, regardless of what language they speak, because football's a universal language, regardless of ethnicity, race, gender. I don't care. Best available coach. That's who should coach the team. Um, he said this many times. He doubled down on it on Timmy and Landon's podcast, and he took a shot at Pochettino for not knowing the culture and pretty much being out of his depth. Well, Pochettino just took a shot at Bruce Arena. He's saying if you coached another sport before, didn't get involved in coaching the game until you're like 30, Well, that's Bruce Arena. Bruce Arena used to be a lacrosse coach until he started coaching soccer, University of Virginia, and from there DC United. But before that, he was a lacrosse player, lacrosse coach. That was who he was. He had a soccer background. Yes, he should be respected because of what he's done for the U.S. men's national team and American soccer. Yes. Does Pochettino have a right to feel slighted? Yes. No issue. No issue. As maybe Bruce Arena will have a right to feel slighted in this case for Mauricio Pochettino taking a victory lap on him, kind of dancing on the grave, if you will. Um, where should we focus on here? I don't want to make this just about Bruce Arena and Pochettino and the give and go that they have with each other, which I think should be non-existent. I want to concentrate on the. It's not a victory lap, but definitely throwing it back in Bruce Arena or those who questioned his face. Um, Victory laps are after the victories that come with the World Cup, that don't come with the international friendlies to teams who've already qualified and are playing with their B teams. I am very, very surprisingly pleased at the U.S. men's national team's play and the message that Mauricio Pochettino has kind of put out there for the players and the press. There are no regulars, even though Marcelo Bielsa said that there's no way that Uruguay should lose to the U.S. men's national team's B players. Not my words, Bielsa's words, his mentor's words. But I understand the messaging, and I like the messaging. I guarantee you there's more than one or two European players right now feeling a bit uneasy, and I'd rather enjoy that. I love that. I love that. I love the fact that uh, everybody feels they have an honest chance of making the U.S. men's national for the World Cup. You're talking to a guy who had zero appearances, 0 minutes and zero camps leading up to the 2010 World Cup. And I went on a goal scoring tear, won a goal scoring title in Mexico, and made it to the 30-man, camp before the World Cup, and played my ass off and scored goals in the lead up to that, World Cup and those friendlies in the send off series to get me on the team. I am for that. I am for that. But there are players that some would categorize as A and B, and I don't think that's a slight on the players who are in camp. I, as a player, value what Mauricio Pochettino did in defending him. I really do. I really do. But Marcelo Bielsa is smart enough to realize which players he considers A and which players the majority of the world considers an A type player compared to the B type player. So neither here nor there. Um, you got to be smart about this if you're Mauricio Pochettino, and I'm sure he's more than weighed the pros and cons. Um, right now, things are on the steady, but in his time, there was reason to question Mauricio Pochettino. Absolutely. There was reason to be worried about what you saw. Um, I think that just comes with the territory. And sometimes I'm taken aback at a coach who's coached at the highest of levels who feels slighted by the commentary. I mean, you get killed in England. You get killed. PSG, Chelsea. I mean, even his time as a player at Deportivo, coaching Deportivo, like you would get killed. It kind of just comes with the territory. To me, more than anything, I feel like he's saying like, yeah, I'll take this from these people, from them, because that's proper football, but I'm not going to take it from you. And I think that's where the slight comes from. Mauricio Pochettino is going to be fine if he continues doing what he's doing, because I think I'm starting to see the light when it comes to the message. But that doesn't mean you're immune to criticism. In fact, the criticism is about to start. The real criticism, the real test is about to be brought upon us in the 2026 World Cup on home soil for the U.S. men's national team, where they'll have LA, Seattle, and back to LA, and then we'll see where the road takes us from there. But drop your comments on this comment between Bruce Arena and Mauricio Pochettino, and what you feel about the overall situation of the handling of criticism from Mauricio Pochettino, who, up until now, the last couple months, I've been more than pleasantly surprised by. Drop it.